Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to begin by putting about 2 centimeters deep of gravel in the bottom portion of our model. And again, that gravel is in the kit. And then we're going to add water to the base. And here's our water right here. I'm going to not quite add as much because I also have our aquatic plants and our duckweeds also in water, so I'm going to be careful about how much I add at this point. So we may have to add a little bit more to that. And then we're going to go ahead and add everything that's going to be in our water, the aquatic part of our ecosystem. So you have duckweed and aquatic plant, and I'm going to go ahead and add a couple snails to this. So I'm going to go ahead and put our aquatic plant in. And there is some duckweed already in there. I don't want to add too much of that water, I don't think. And I'm going to go ahead and put our snails in there as well. Okay, and I've got quite a bit of duckweed here, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more of that, since that ends up being a great source of energy for our organisms. Okay, we'll put those aside. So we've created the bottom portion or the aquatic portion. So when students do this, they may be adding a couple more things to this, but for when you build it, you kind of want to use what you have that came in the kit itself. So we'll put that aside a minute, and we're going to go ahead and create the transition, the part that connects our land and our water system together. So you'll be using this portion of the bottle, and you're going to need a string. So I cut about a 30 centimeter length of three 30 centimeter pieces of string, and you braid those together so you get a nice thick absorbent piece of string. All right, now you tie a knot in both ends. You're also going to need a coffee filter, since that holds a lot of our soil in the land part of our system. So you just take a coffee filter and fold it into quarters. And then you're going to want to cut a small hole at the bottom to thread the string through. All right. So I just kept it folded to do that, and a relatively small hole. But we're going to leave it in quarters, anyway. So, all right. So we're just going to go ahead and fit that coffee filter into this section of our model. And we want to kind of separate it so that it's nice, and we can get quite a bit in there, and it's going to hold the soil, and we have that hole in the bottom portion. I'm going to take this out though for a minute to feed this string through, because that's a little bit tricky. And remember to knot both ends, because you don't want your string to go all the way through. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and fold that up again. And the string needs to also be threaded through the bottom of that bottle. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and place this in here, and we really want to make sure that the string is in the water. I'm going to go ahead and give that a little push down there, so we can make sure that it gets nice and in there. This feeds up water into our land, and also that we have our string in the in the coffee filter itself. All right, before we put the soil in, it's going to be well in that soil. All right, and also we want to make sure that this bottom neck of the bottle does not touch the water, and it is not. It's real close, which is what we want. All right, then we're going to go ahead and put some soil in the coffee filter, and the string will be nice and buried in that soil. I want to leave a little bit of room because I'm going to plant our fern in there. Just a portion of our fern in there. Now, one of the tips that I've heard for the soil is you do get potting soil or soil in your kit. But I've heard a few people say that it's better if you can take the soil from the schoolyard of a school, or bring it from home or from your garden. It's going to have a lot more nutrients in it, and it may really help feed your ecosystem well. But if you don't have access to any other soil, you'll have some in the kit. And we're going to go ahead and take a portion of our fern. I don't think we don't need this whole fern for sure. Just take a little piece of it here. Tear that off. Oops. little bit, well, that'll be good for now. All right, we're just going to tuck that into our system. I'm going to add a little bit more soil to that so it's nice and buried. And I'm also going to go ahead and add some of the moss mat that you also get in this kit. It's part of your living organisms, and I'm going to just go ahead and put that around that fern. All right, there. Okay, then the other thing we want to make sure is we add a good amount of water to this. We make sure it's nice and moist, and I'm going to use the water that no, I'm not. I'm going to use this water here. I was thinking I'd use the water from the bottom, but I'm going to go ahead and use water that I've conditioned, which means I let it sit out for 24 hours. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a good amount of water. I don't want to do too much though, because I got a little bit too much water in the bottom portion there. I want to make sure that it's not touching. Okay, so in looking at this model, I probably would have put a little less water here because I didn't really account for the fact that I need to add quite a bit of water here. Okay, all right, so we water that really well, and then we, this is the part that's going to go over the top of this. All right. However, before we do that, we need to attach a thermometer to there. So this is something that students are going to be observing over a long period of time. So it'll be interesting for them to see what's happening to the temperature of the ecosystem. So you have these thermometers in the kit. You have 8 of them. So each group will be able to have one. And you just want to go ahead and just attach it to the inside of the bottle. And it's got one side that's sticky, so it makes that really easy. Okay. One thing that I've learned is that we want to take this out when trying to put the lid on to the top. That's another reason not to have a ton of plant in there, because you do need to. It's a little bit tricky to kind of squeeze that so that the top is on there nice and secure. There we go. And then we're going to take a piece of tape, and we're going to tape that all around. We really want this system to remain closed. So we're going to give it a nice piece of tape to close it all up. And do that all the way around the bottle. There we go. One more piece I think will do it. And there we have it. Okay. So the top should already be on here when it comes, but if you have for some reason took that off, then just make sure that you place the top back on there again. So that you're going to make sure that this goes into a really well-lit area. However, you'll need to keep an eye on them. If it gets too much sun, then it's going to make the water and the whole thing pretty warm, and that could kill the organisms that are in the bottom of this for sure. So keep an eye on that, exactly where it's placed. But you certainly want light, but maybe not direct sunlight for long periods of time. So this one here that's been built and been around for a couple months for sure, started with a fern very much about the size of this, so you can see what's happened over time. Definitely snails and reproducing of snails going on in the bottom of this. So this closed system has been operating in this ecosystem for quite a while.